Good evening. Good evening. How is everyone doing?
How are you?
Doing great. Exciting to see everyone here. Thank you so much for taking time to join us this evening to talk about this important funding coming to the school district this fall. My name is Maggie Dangerfield. I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement. I'm in the Division of Strategy and Communications. And before we get started this evening, we're going to spend most of the time hearing from you, hearing your thoughts, ideas, feedback, engaging in dialogue about these priority areas within the ESSER funding for the expenditure of funds. But we also want to provide a quick overview of ESSER and what that is for those that may not be as familiar with these funds that are available to us. I want to acknowledge some individuals in the room this evening. We have Dr. Jarita Postlewaite, our Superintendent of Schools, with us. We also have some of our county board members. We have Miss Erica Coakley here and Dr. Kristen French, if you want to say hi. And do we have any constituent district board members? Miss Brown, Miss Joy Brown is here. Anyone else? Great. And we also have several district staff in the room here to support you and listen to your thoughts, ideas, and feedback as we go through this session this evening. So, as I mentioned, I'm just going to spend a very brief amount of time talking about what ESSER is and what that looks like over these next 3 years and what engagement has occurred to date, and then we'll switch gears and start hearing from everyone this evening. So ESSER stands for Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. It's a part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And the ESSER funds, we have 3 years to spend those, and then the funds expire. So they are finite. And that expenditure would begin in the fall of 2021. We say ESSER III because there's been 2 other rounds of ESSER funding, ESSER I and ESSER II, that had other purposes. But for ESSER III, the primary focus of this $163 million would be academic recovery. So all of our decisions will be student-centric, and they'll be focused on students who have been most severely impacted by COVID-19 and the disruptions it caused this past year. As mentioned, there are 3 phases, and ESSER III was commenced in March 2021. It's a large grant, and within that, at least 20% of that $163 million must address learning loss, but the other 80% could be spread across 15 allowable activity areas. And these funds must be used by September 30th of 2024. CCSD has some guiding principles as we look to start planning for the use of these funds. First and foremost, as we mentioned, is academic recovery, student-centric, and focused on those most severely impacted by COVID-19 disruptions. Also looking at social-emotional needs, because those are very centric to academic recovery, so we'll look to address social-emotional issues that have negatively impacted student learning, as well as health and safety of our people that will drive improvements to our infrastructure and our facilities. So as mentioned, these ESSER funds can be spent across 15 allowable activity areas. These are the 15 allowable activity areas set out by the grant. We have done several rounds of engagement with an initial planning group and several surveys, as well as in-person paper surveys at community meetings that have looked at these 15 allowable areas and asked some of our stakeholders to prioritize those 15 into a top 5, and then from those top 5, we've seen 6 of those 15 that have been most commonly named as the highest priority to our stakeholders. So we'll go through that in just a minute. So just a quick update on the activities to date and next steps that we've done in our ESSER engagement and planning so far since everything was signed into law in March 2021. In the beginning of June, on the 9th and 10th, we had 2 focus groups of stakeholders that met for initial planning via Zoom. We talked about prioritization of those 15 allowable activity areas, as well as parent engagement, ways to engage our parents, and school protocols for safe return to in-person learning next year. The following week, we deployed online surveys. We had nearly 4,000 responses that were completed by parents and employees about the areas of priority and how to engage our parents, and again, on the safe return protocols. And from those surveys, there was a consensus around 6 areas within those 15. And those areas were activities to address needs of low-income students and impacted subgroups, addressing learning loss among students, mental health services and support, and summer learning and supplemental after-school activities, as well as indoor air quality and educational technology for students. So at the end of June, those 6 priority areas, I'm going to step back a little bit, were posted on the district website with comments and feedback sought in those areas of different programs and initiatives and strategies that our stakeholders would like to see. In the past couple of weeks, we have also called parents from 24 high poverty schools, about 480 phone numbers that were selected at random, to ask them for their input and feedback as well. And over the past 2 days, we've held community forums where we're asking the public to come and attend in person and share ideas for programs and initiatives and strategies underneath these 6 priority areas. This week and in the weeks to come, we'll continue to engage stakeholders, students K through 12, special education parents, civic groups, multi-language learners, and others that will continue to ask for their input and feedback around these 6 priority areas. And from that, we'll take all of our input from our stakeholders and develop them into proposed actions that could be implemented with the funds. Those proposals will be posted on the district's website for public comment, and then the proposals with the widest support will be brought forth to our Board of Trustees for a final prioritization, with the whole funding plan being submitted on or before the deadline of August 24th. So, transitioning back to those 6 priority areas mentioned as those that had been named the most frequently as the highest areas of priority. These are what we would love to hear from you on ideas and programs, initiatives, strategies within these 6 priority areas that would support our students that have been most severely impacted in their families. So we're going to spend the bulk of the evening talking about that. The floor is going to be open. If you would like to speak, we just ask that you come up to either of these mics, or I certainly can come to you with the wireless mic. And we can just have an open dialogue for our remaining time together. Who'd like to come up first?
Good evening. My name is Peacock. I work in the district, and I would like to see one of the things that would help our students a great deal is chess. Not the game of chess, but a learning tool. One of the areas of activities to address needs of low-income students, also students with disabilities, homeless. Chess can address emotional learning completely when combined with the 7 habits of highly effective people. We ran a curriculum at Barnes Elementary School a while ago. Our brother, Mr. Andy, he videotaped it. It's on YouTube and you can find it. Imagine that you have 50 students that are suspended at a regular basis. Then their behavior, because they learn to self-regulate, begins to change, and they're able to sit in the classroom, focus, control, patience, and not get suspended anymore. Priority area, addressing learning loss among students using high-quality assessments, evidence-based activities, assistance to families, tracking attendance. Chess is the quickest way to improve learning loss among students. Upon running the program, we ran it at breakfast, lunch, and in the after-school model with wings, and many of the students who were not focused in the classroom, who had issues with learning, they were able to bring themselves into focus so that the teacher was not teaching a lesson 2 or 3 times. They were able to get it on the first time. So there are curriculums out there. One of them is called First Move. Even though First Move is with first and second graders, you can extend it throughout the school, and it really helps our students. Priority area, mental health services and support for students. Chess is the quickest way to improve mental health of students. One of the things that you have is students that have behavior issues. Let's say they're on ADD or they're defiant. The chess program that we ran basically helped a lot of the defiant students and a lot of the students that were on medication begin to sit down, focus, control, patience, and we ran it at breakfast, lunch, and an after-school model, so you have what is called a wraparound concept, and then we also ran it at home. It is the fastest way to allow our students to make up lost ground. Summer learning and after-school programs. Chess is the quickest way to improve students completely using the executive functions, improving their executive functions. We ran a program at Charleston Progressive. We ran a program at Chakor with Wings, and we ran the program at Barnes Elementary. So if you would consider using chess as a way to improve our students in the classroom, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to take a moment before the next person comes up and introduce Ms. Amanda Adams, who's part of our Office of Translation Services, who is here to provide interpretation services this evening.
Buenas noches, me llamo Amanda, yo soy intérprete y traductora. Si hay alguien que requiere o quiere servicios de interpretación o traducción, estoy aquí sentada y a sus órdenes. Gracias.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and share?
Good evening. My name is AJ Davis, and I'm a Charleston County School District employee. And I'm grateful to you guys for having this meeting. I know that this is a very daunting task, but it's something that I feel the community can definitely benefit from, as well our schools. So I have a couple of recommendations that I wrote down. Considering the fact that the ESSER funds are supposed to be used to target schools that would experience a certain learning loss, and most of them would probably be our Title I schools. Currently in the district, we have 12 with at least 90% or higher poverty rates school-wide, 19 with at least 80% or higher school-wide, 4 with at least 70 to 80% school-wide, and 9 with at least 60% to 70% school-wide. I think a focus on those particular schools would be necessary. So I'm for the creation of a teacher support account that is accessible to teachers directly and can be utilized for additional curriculum or instructional resources. This fund should be managed by individual school bookkeepers with minimal restrictions on the part of administration. Funding for the creation of additional student support or student specialist positions within our Title I schools. These additional positions would work with school administration, guidance, and teachers to provide support for challenging student behaviors identified as potential barriers to learning in the classroom environment. Funding for additional social workers, mental health workers, and school psychologists to be housed within the schools to assist with SEL needs, socio-emotional learning for those who may not be aware, that can be overwhelming but have become exacerbated due to COVID-19. Funding for parent advocate and liaison positions at all Title I schools with specific allocations for parent and guardian engagement activities. Oftentimes we leave out the parent and guardians when we try to do any school reform efforts. The current Title I funding formula does not provide adequate funding for activities specific to parent engagement. This is vital to support SEL and would help make the efficacy of wraparound services more significant. Funding for community-based organizations that work with students from Title I schools. These organizations would be eligible through an RFP process that CCSD could establish and would provide community-based support that extends beyond the school day provided by CCSD. Creation of a new community outreach and engagement department whose goal would be to improve and maintain positive community-parent relationships. Currently, there is significant distrust between the various demographic groups in CCSD, and there needs to be a centralized department that is staffed and trained to create meaningful relationships with communities who would be viewed as vital partners in this process of addressing learning loss. Improved and expansive professional development opportunities that are reflective of the diversity of the occupations within the district. COVID has changed the way we live, work, and play. It has also changed the way we do our jobs. There are definite needs for our certified teachers and classified staff that need to be met. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else that would like to come up? Come on up.
I am the communications director for Representative Marvin Pendarvis, and he was going to be here today, but he had to cancel last minute, so I'm speaking in his stead. Some of the issues that we're working on regarding the education system, we're focused on mental health and special needs, and this is very germane to my personal life since I'm autistic and I spent 1st through 12th grade in the special ed system in the CCSD, and it failed in a lot of different ways. And certainly with regards to COVID, among the most affected groups in terms of especially social and emotional learning, but also in other ways, are special needs kids and also autistic kids like myself. Where we're not getting that social interaction that we need in order to develop social skills, which is hard for us to do. And currently the CCSD doesn't have any great alternatives to that, because I was working earlier this year with some ABA groups. Are y'all mostly familiar with ABA? Right. The CCSD greatly lacks in its ABA programs. And I tried to talk to Beverly Pilkey. I did talk to Beverly Pilkey about that earlier this year. And I was also, Beverly Pilkey is the head of special education at the CCSD. And I was also speaking to her vice person, I forgot her name. But we were trying to get ABA programs into the schools and also peer ally programs and anti-bullying PSAs. Since bullying is a huge problem among disabled students. I was pretty severely bullied myself. I got urinated on, I had rocks thrown at me, a lot of other stuff. But with regards to the funding that we need, with the ESSER funding, I think it's imperative that we focus that funding on special needs students especially. Both their social and emotional needs, to get ABA in there and to get the peer ally system and stuff like that, but also because they're a lot more likely to have an emotional crisis. It's extremely difficult and extremely stressful to live through this pandemic and through society generally when you're on the spectrum or you have another disability. And there definitely need to be crisis services because, again, you have bullying, you have the administrations of the schools that I went to weren't very good because with regards to ABA, they use positive reinforcement and they attempt to nurture the kids for the most part during ABA. But when I was going to like Moultrie Middle School and Wando High School, special ed when I was there was basically in-school suspension, right? We were being punished for quote-unquote misbehavior instead of treated for a medical condition, which meant that the entire system was for the most part punitive when we were having our behavior micromanaged, which has a lot of problems, including on the special, including on the with regards to the self-esteem of the students who are basically being told every single day that they're bad people when they're not, they just have social issues. And so, it's really important that we get more positive and more science-based services into those schools to help students who have special needs to make sure that they're getting scientifically appropriate treatments, not the non-science punitive treatments that I received, and also making sure they have crisis intervention for issues regarding bullying and mismanagement by the authorities. So when they have a panic attack or an anxiety attack, and not only just from that stuff, but also from stuff like sensory overload, that they can have that type of crisis intervention when they need it, in addition to having better services on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Coakley.
Sorry. Good evening, y'all. Erica Coakley, Charleston County School Board, but y'all know me, I always just stand and talk as that parent, as that mom. As I listen to the young man talk and having a son that has special needs, and I look in the room, and then I'm looking at everything that's always happening, to know that we sent out 4,000 surveys, but there's not 4,000 people in the room, but yet we're still here trying to make these decisions. It's almost the same thing that got us here in the first place. So going forward, what we really like to see is how can we really engage the people that need it most? And right now, the people that need it most are not being engaged, they're not being informed, they're unaware of what is taking place. Services going forward need to be true, need to be honest. Even when I look right now, communication is behavior. Behavior is communication. We're all behaving, we're all communicating. And I can feel all the communication in this room that's not taking place. So the silent communication that's not taking place is the same real work that's not taking place with our kids. So how do we begin to foster real relationships, even on a broad level? How do we really understand the people that really need to be understood to really make all this work? I'd like to see some money focused on ways that we can really understand society. So critical race theory, things that are going to make society understand our behavior so that we can educate our kids. It's not that they're not learning. Fostered true relationships enhances all our educational skills. So even with the people that are standing here, some of that money needs to be spent on how we better behave and communicate with each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coakley. Anyone else?
Hi.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
My name is Susan Ash, and I have children that attend Hersey Montessori, and I was the PTA president for 5 years, and I'm very involved in what's going on. I'm not sure if I can ask questions and get them answered, if I can just kind of, I look up there and I see the mental health services and support for students, and I would like to know what that entails. Like, you guys have held several meetings and done things, you've been provided feedback. What is mental health services support for staff? Is that going to be giving the guidance counselor at my school a fourth job at the same pay that she's already getting? Or are we going to actually have a guidance counselor and a mental health professional and all the things that are supposed to be there, and 4 different people and not just one? I don't know how you provide some of the things that you want to provide unless you get more staff in there to be able to provide these things. So I guess I'm asking, what is the mental health services? Is there somebody in the room that can answer me on what those mental health services are? And then when we talk about mental health services and we talk about different things that we want to change, I know that I'm not the only one in the room tonight when I say this, but we need domestic violence and educating children on what domestic violence is so we can stop before they become adults and teach them what healthy love and healthy relationships are. I very much feel that that is a part of the mental health services. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. I'll try to provide an answer to that. So in terms of these 6 priority areas, these are just broad areas, Ms. Ash, in which we could do things like that, adding, different differentiated mental health supports within schools. That would be the type of strategies and programs or initiatives that we would look to hear from stakeholders to have. So if that would be something that, we need a dedicated guidance counselor, we need a dedicated student support service specialist, and a dedicated other mental health supports within the schools, then that would be something that we would want to know and hear, so that we can add that under that priority area specifically in this funding. Yeah, come on back.
I just wanted to, I don't, when we talk about that with what you're talking about, are we going to have 4 different people in the school, or we are going to give it all to the guidance counselor, offer $3,000 more in pay, and give her a 4th job? Because if that's the case, all of that looks fine and well on paper, but it doesn't work in this school. It's too much for one person to handle. Right. So, and then you guys have these 6 areas of priority. They obviously came from people that came before us, that you guys, stakeholders that you met with. How did you find out who your stakeholders were? Who did you ask to be able to come up with these 6 priorities? And again, when we talk about mental health services, you guys have been told what those are. Can you share the feedback, or is that something that's going to come out on August 24th? And how do we continue to be able to give feedback when it comes to these areas?
Sure. So I could answer a little bit of that. So these 6 priority areas these were within, I keep going the wrong way on this. So when these ESSER funds, the 80% that we have judgment discretion to spend in, these 15 allowable areas were given to us. And so then there were digital surveys that were emailed out, and we did call outs.
I completed mine.
Okay, perfect. So from that survey, when we were asking you to rank the priorities of these allowable activity areas, these 6 emerged as the most commonly high priority, top priority areas within people's top 5. Okay. And so they're very broad. And so then our whittling down on our next step is, okay, we've talked about the topics of interest, allowable areas, topics, what have you. Now we're asking everyone to get a little more granular, a little more detailed. So we say that mental health services and support for students is a priority area to support our students most severely impacted. What does that look like? And so that's what we are gathering now tonight in person, like listening to you, taking notes, as well as there is another survey. So there was the first survey with the 15. Now there's another survey with this 6 that it's asking for your super specific ideas. So if this one would be, don't add another job to the guidance counselor, add in these people to provide a wraparound support.
Why do some schools have all of these mental health services and some schools don't? Like that, for me, like This shouldn't even be up on the list. The same thing with the indoor indoor air quality for school. Come on, like that should have been there. That shouldn't have to go on something like this. Like, that bothers me. And when it comes to the mental health, and I look up there and I see for the first one, the activities to address the needs of low-income students, like, and everything that falls underneath that. I know that there are several people there at Hersey that are homeless. There are homeless children. Why is it, and I've asked this question for a long time, why is it that certain schools in Charleston County get everything that they need and other schools don't? Like, that's, again, and I want to make sure, because I'm very involved in the school, that the mental health services that we have goes to 4 people and not 1 with a $3,000 increase in pay and no difference, because they're so inundated with what they have that they can't even concentrate. And I'm using a guidance counselor as the example,
Right.
but she has one job. She can't even be the guidance counselor that she needs to be, because she's also this person, and so now are we going to add this person to her list? When it comes to domestic violence, how does that fall under mental health? And then how do we as a community help make sure that all of these things get put into the schools that they need to?
Right. Yeah, and that's great. And I think that hits on the exact point of this evening, hearing from you, hearing these things, hearing about the domestic violence piece to add in, hearing about
I mean, I think that goes up there with foster care and homelessness,
Sure.
because domestic violence and child abuse oftentimes,
sure. Yeah.
where there's one, there's others. So, I mean, I think that, yeah.
So this is really helpful. So this is the input that we want to hear, that we want to
Okay,
gather
good.
as feedback, and then so from tonight and that the online version of this survey where you can add in what you're saying verbally as well, we will take those down and put them more pen to paper with action, and then create another proposal that we'll put out again for comments, feedback, things like that, and then ultimately from those proposals bring it forth to the board. But we'll continue to be transparent and communicate as we keep refining this down from super broad to more specific.
Okay, one last thing.
Sure.
Having a full-time Spanish teacher at schools, how and where does that fall into that? Because, again, some schools in Charleston County have full-time Spanish teachers,
Sure.
and some schools have one that comes in 2 days a week and goes to another school. How and where does that fall in there
Sure.
with our students in Charleston County? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Anyone else? Would y'all like to come up and share?
Hello, my name is Donnie Michi Singleton. I am a youth director of a nonprofit called North Charleston, South Carolina Youth Resistance Incorporation. I actually have 6 kids of my own that are CCSD residents. One of them has special needs, 3-year-old. And my concern is being in the school. I've coached football, basketball, baseball. I'm in the community. I've been the head chairman for like 25 different elementary schools, Head Start and Early Head Start, 2015, 16 era. And me, myself, personally, I've took money out of my own pocket on plenty of occasions. And it shouldn't be like that, because you have grassroots organizations in the community that is helping but are not getting any help from federal grants or any grants, to be honest. And it's a leap over the hill to try to get a grant for something that you're really doing in the community. And I see a lot of that is going on now. Community impact, because school ends at what, 3:30? Okay, so where do the kids go? Back to the community. So who needs to be engaged in the school and outside the school? The community. That's where the change is going to be. Me dealing with kids who look like me tend to understand and learn easier. And like a father-to-father program, okay, donuts for dads is cool, but let's be realistic. We need our fathers in the school. So it needs to be some type of program to get our fathers in there with this funding and our grassroots organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi.
We're a husband and wife tag team here.
Awesome.
We have a nonprofit, Palmetto Hope Network.
Yes.
And I deal primarily with domestic violence. But also, over the last several years, we've had the opportunity to participate in many camps during the summer. And in talking to these children in various areas, one of the things that comes up, we do bullying, we do dating violence, is I'm having problems in school, I'm being bullied. I go to the adults in my school, nothing happens. They're crying for help. And I see adults sitting in here. I don't know how often we're actually asking the children, what else is it that they need in their schools?
Amen.
Because we oftentimes, we tell them what we think is going to work, but then they're sitting there going, nope, it's not working, it's not working. So how can these children focus on learning when they're worried about stepping outside that classroom a few minutes later where someone's going to be bullying them? Now also, there's a link there with domestic violence. I was told many, many, many years ago that a lot of the crime that we see is also somewhat of a learned behavior in some homes where they're witnessing domestic violence. So I think also, definitely, as the young lady up there, Sue said, we've got to work on teaching our kids what a healthy relationship is, healthy friendships, because that incorporates the bullying in it. And my husband here, he truly focuses on working with men and getting men to understand their role in it. So in this whole process, so what Donnie is saying also, that's another way of bringing fathers, men into the schools. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah,
you can talk now.
Thank you. See, this is my wife. I don't really have to speak when she speaks, right? Because she says it all. But we are the grassroots organization that Donnie Michi was talking about. The elephant in the room that has been missing is the fact of what our children go through on a daily basis in the home, not in the school. You can't teach a kid who's already lost before he even gets there. So it's very imperative that we have these conversations with our children, right, about grown-up topics like domestic violence, sexual assault, grown-up topics that probably are not good enough for kids that are under a certain age, but once they get to middle school and above, I think we need to start having those conversations. And that's what we do. We have those conversations. We do summer camps, like Lisa said, and we're doing a summer camp right now with kids as well. But our kids are smarter than we ever give them credit for, and they know a lot. So the reason why they're not learning the way we think they should learn is because of what they go through at the home before they get there. Thank you.
Thank you both. Would anybody else like to come up? Come on up.
My name's William Hamilton, and this is not the area I primarily work in. I primarily work in the area of public transit. I know there are a lot of people here working with youth. All middle and high school students and elementary students in Charleston County that go to a public or private school can ride CARTA for free. That can be, we had a whole group of young people from Pink House west of the Ashley that took the bus downtown last Friday. If you're interested in that sort of thing and empowering these kids with some mobility through transit so they're not utterly dependent on first family that may be overworked, and worse than that, helpful people in their community that are looking for somebody to do them a favor on a street corner, just speak to me after the meeting, and I've got some literature. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Coakley?
So I just want to tell y'all, thank y'all very much, like literally, for doing this. When I say that this is like very much more engaging than some of the board meetings that we have to go through, I'm sure some people can either understand and appreciate this one a little bit more. I thank Donnie Michi for coming in. Mr. Butch, he left out his wife. When I say the grassroots organizations and that he mentioned of, that's what we mean, the grassroots organizations, and to see that those people actually took time out to come in to be engaged tonight. That's the way that we want to make sure that not just the grassroots organizations, but our parents, our board members, and everybody else. And that's how we foster those real life, true relationships, y'all, that make us better going forward. So if we can have more meetings that are just like this right here, down to earth, right to the point, we'll love it. Thank y'all again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Would anybody else like to come down? Yeah, come on back up. Absolutely.
Since they talked about bullying, I touched on it, but I do want to say I actually had an exhibit that I wanted to show. Can I borrow the laptop?
Sure.
Cool. Thanks. I want to. Oh yes.
Oh. Thank you. Sorry.
I mean, if coming up here just got that done, it was totally worth it.
You're very kind. It might take a minute.
That's fine. I want to emphasize about how bad the bullying can get, especially for disabled students. Right. I want, I thank you for what you said over there. I've got your name, but I really thank you because the bullying, especially for autistic students, can get really bad. As I mentioned in my first speech, I got urinated on, I had rocks thrown at me, I was spit in the face of, someone stole my phone and texted for someone to rape me. A lot of stuff happened. That was pretty horrific. But it's one thing to just hear me recount it. It's another thing to see it, and there are a few screenshots, and trigger warning, there's going to be some pretty foul language.
Let's not pull this up just because there are people watching because we're live streaming.
Right.
Do you want to just talk about
Well,
we don't pull it up just in case?
Well, it's bad, but it's not that bad.
Let's just talk about it if that's okay. Just to be safe.
Okay.
Just
Okay. So, one of the important things was that the first line in it was "you mentally handicapped fucking retard." That was the first line in the screenshot I was going to show, and there was no intervention. There was nobody I could go to, and there are a few reasons for that. If I decided to tattle on them, they'd counter-tattle because I'm on the spectrum. And a lot of the, and if I were able to show the screenshot, one of the things that it would show is that the bullying was on a pretext often. So one of the places I was urinated on was the after party for my uncle's funeral back in 2012. And they had claimed that I had not paid enough respect to my dead uncle because I was nervous and to the side and talking to myself. And that's obviously an autistic thing, and being autistic, I've certainly committed a number of social mistakes. And my bullies would present themselves as upright vigilantes who were punishing me righteously. And that's one of the things they would...
Well, let's not go too personal, but let's talk about like universally
right,
yeah. How intervention.
Yeah, sorry, understood. Yeah, but I mean, I brought those examples up because there needs to be better intervention. That's why we need two of the things that I talked about were having peer ally systems. That's one of the things that could help deal with these issues. One of the things is that at Wando High School, we didn't have a peer ally system. I was given an adult escort, which made me a much more target for bullying because they knew I was special needs. But having peer allies would give them protection. Also having PSAs, showing them what's acceptable and what's not. You can't just take some idiosyncrasy someone on the spectrum or some other special needs student has and pretend to punish them by bullying them. So I think things like that. But I definitely commend you on what you said, and it's very important. Definitely, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else want to come up and share? Oh.
Good afternoon. Is this one on?
If not.
Oh, sorry, no problem. Okay. It'll take a second to warm up. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nashonda Hunter. I'm the Executive Director of the Charity Foundation. We serve the Liberty Hill community and North Charleston Elementary, Morningside Middle, and North Charleston High Schools. Something that I heard tonight that is kind of resounding is that there needs to be a community liaison, someone from the community to serve these students in our schools, not someone from outside of the community, someone who actually knows and can speak the language of these students, know what they're going through, know what their needs are. And so that is something tangible that I want to offer to CCSD to take back with them. And again, I don't think that that's one position. I think that you need to at least have 2 or 3 people from the community that's also going to offer jobs, stimulate the economy, stimulate the workforce, and things of that nature. Next, what I noticed here a lot tonight is that there are community ground roots workers that are already doing the work. And what I'd like to offer or suggest is that maybe or perhaps CCSD put together some kind of grant fund so that you can get access to the funding that you need in order to continue serving your students, because a lot of times there is a disconnect between the school and the community. We need to connect the two of you so that you know, your program can continue to give life. We can also offer you some relief, so maybe, you know, your level of commitment is going to grow if you have some financial compensation behind that. Let's just be honest, there's nothing in life for free. And so that brings me to my next point, which is transportation to these programs. I'd like to really see some kind of training program to get students to get training for a CDL so that they can go to work and drive buses to get these students to the programs that are being offered, because that's another huge hiccup that a lot of these families are suffering. The parents are already using the vehicle to get to 2 and 3 jobs that they have to have in order to maintain their household, so there is no one to get these students back and forth to the programs that are being offered. And so lastly, I'd just like to encourage those of you who are in the room to offer tangible examples on how the school district can use these funds. I know that this can be a lot. It seems like, where did they get these 6 rules from? This didn't come from the district. They didn't make these up on their own. This came from Washington. And so they need your input because they really want to do right. I know it seems it's overwhelming at times. It's like, you know, we're always complaining and we're letting them know we need this, we need that. But this is an opportunity right now for you you have the ear of the school district. And again, offer them tangible sources or examples of what you'd like to see. And let's give them the opportunity to see how they can actually implement it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Alvata Bowens. I'm a retired educator with 48 years of service in Charleston County School District. I noticed the 6 areas that will be priorities, and that second bullet where it mentions assistance to families, I wanted to know whether there was going to be any monies allocated for parent education. Parents are the children's first and probably most important teacher, and a lot of times when they go into schools, they are intimidated by the educators because they don't, maybe they don't know the key questions that they need to ask when they have a parent conference, and a lot of times teachers will talk at the parents instead of inviting them to be a part of the team. And so I would like to see more funds allocated to train parents how to participate effectively in parent conferences, to get parents more involved. Sometimes they want to come to parent conferences, but they're not able to come because the employees will not allow them, you know, time off, and maybe have some type of partnership between the employer and the school district, so that if a parent wants to come, then they would be able to attend school. I was listening to the news a couple nights ago, and I see that in Dorchester School District, they had started this initiative prior to getting the monies from the CARES Act or the rescue plan, where they were putting 2 teachers in a classroom, and you probably mentioned that before I came, but that's very much needed, and if 3 are needed, that's what we need to do, because Children are our future, and we need to invest in them. You know, I've been a principal, I've been a career specialist, I've been a special ed teacher where I was a resource teacher working with those students that have the opportunity to get a diploma. And I think I retired after 48 years because it was frustrating. I worked at Baptist Hill Middle High School, and a lot of times in the rural areas, they are not giving us the funds that we need. And I hate the point system that they use to allocate teachers, because every school needs to be considered a magnet school, or so that all of the resources that one school gets, the other school gets, but that doesn't happen. And so we had to be very creative. A lot of times we had to spend our own money. And so just making sure every school has what they need in order for those children to be successful. In those rural areas, sometimes it's hard to get technology out there, the broadband or whatever it is that they need to put in place so that every child has access to technology is very important. I want to thank y'all for, you know, just coming out and giving us an opportunity to speak. I think we need to do more with entrepreneurship, teaching children how to own their own businesses. We have a lot of bright, intelligent young people in the school district, and all they need, they just need a hand up. They need a pat on the back. We need mentors. We need volunteers. We need people to come into the school and just spend some time with the children. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think it's back on now.
Yes, sir.
I do want to piggyback off of what's been said so far. CCSD also has a crown jewel in the building that we're sitting in right now. And I think one of the things that should be attached to these 6 priority areas is realizing what the end goal should be for education. I hear people talk about opportunities for our kids. There are a lot of opportunities for our kids that could be amplified through communication and marketing. For example, several of our existing high schools have CTE programs that oftentimes the general public doesn't know about. I work in Burke High School. We have several. We have Intro to Engineering Design. We have Health Sciences. You're sitting in the Cooper River Center for Advanced Studies. So when we look at the impacts of COVID and we look at how we're going to address learning loss, let's also look at what the end goal of our educational system should be. I think one of the problems that schools are faced with is that there's a lot of apathy, indifference when it comes to learning, because a lot of times kids are faced with obstacles that are not the school's fault or the school district's fault. So we have to begin showing kids that there is life outside of school. There's opportunities outside of schools. Many people refer to the fact that we don't have any trades. I disagree. We have trades. They're just phrased differently. So I think one of the things that CCSD can do is perhaps look at the learning tracks that we have. We all know, and we've heard it before, that everyone is not going to go to college to earn a 4-year degree. Nobody in CCSD is saying that. As a matter of fact, the public should know that CCSD has a tremendous amount of program offerings for different learning styles and abilities, as well as future opportunities. I think that, I don't know how it could be worded perhaps, but amplifying our CTE offerings, there's also an apprenticeship program that CCSD has. The same way we have athletic signing days, we have apprenticeship signing days that many people don't know about and aren't aware of. So I think maybe a communication strategy between CCSD and communities such as our rural communities as well, to help them understand what we actually do have, and if there's a need for things that people would want that they did not know that we have access to, maybe we could use some of these services for that. Because I'm going to be honest, we have kids nowadays who are dropping out 8th, 9th grade if they make it that far, and it's because they don't see school or education as an opportunity for them. But if you look around Charleston and you look at the growth that the Charleston Tri-County area is experiencing, we have to tie education to that growth. We have to let our kids, our students, our most vulnerable students see themselves as being a part of that growth. And the only way that can happen is if they see education as a tool to get them there. So thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to pass out some forms just in our last little bit of time together. They are these 6 priority areas, and there's a few examples within those priority areas through the surveys that we've already done, the online survey that's been posted for a while of activities or programs or initiatives that were given by our stakeholders, most commonly named by our stakeholders in these 6 areas. And it's just asking your prioritization of those, as well as to write down any ideas, additional ideas for strategies and programs and initiatives you have. They could be the ones that you shared tonight or ones that have come to mind during our discussion. But if you would take a moment and fill out that form before you go, we'll collect them on your way out, because we'd love to capture that information from you. We do still have some time together, so if anybody else would like to come up and share a little bit more, we'd love to hear from you. We got a few new faces in the room too, so if you'd like to come up and chat, we'd welcome it. Are you coming up? Hi.
Hello, I am Latoya Miller Jameson, and I see all of the different goals that you guys actually have up here right at the moment. Just from pretty much being on in different environments, behind the scenes of the school district, as well as being a parent. One of the things, as well as being in the community, one thing I realized that we normally talk about mental health, we talk about physical health, we talk about every single thing, even it goes even into sex ed. We have all of that here at school. And one of the things I realized that we don't talk about is the spiritual component. And I believe, honestly, that that's the one component, even dealing with mental health patients, that we need to really step back and be able to embrace that. Like, we have a bunch of people that is from the Spanish background. We have a lot of people from just all different type of background, just to say it in brief form. And I think that's the main component that is actually missing. I was actually a student here at CCSD when I was actually a little girl. We had moment of silence. Nobody did not ask who God was they praying to. We just had a brief moment of silence. During that time, we were in a place, like for myself, just being transparent, I had a lot going on behind the scene, but when I came into the school environment, it was home. I didn't have to worry about what somebody thought about me during the moment of silence. I could have been able to do whatever I wanted to do. I could have been able to just pray to whoever it is that I believe. However, I believe that a lot of children, they have lost their identity. And I believe that if we all come together and be able to show them about their spirituality from their perspective, allowing for whatever it is that they actually deal with at their home being incorporated into the school level, because these children are at school. These children are not with their parents. The teachers are coming in as parents. They're at school 8+ hours, some of the teachers. They're using their break times to be able to host IEP meetings. They really don't have a break. They really, and I'm going to say it again, they really don't have a break. They have to be able, and some of these teachers, they are afraid to speak up. Some of the district members, they are afraid to speak up, because one of the things is they're afraid that they're going to lose their job. Me personally, I rather stand beside the teachers as well as the parents, because one of the things is, it's easy for me to always hear what the parents are saying, but what about the other side? We, just like in law enforcement, we have SROs here at schools. Some of them take a lot of hit. However, sometimes they have to go home to their family and they feel weighted without nobody lifting their spirit, because they're told that they're at work all day. They don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. And they're facing divorce and so much other stuff. And there are some teachers that are more parents at the school building, and they don't have room to go outside and raise their own families. So one of the things is, just in short, I really just want you guys to really take a step back and look at the whole wheel, because without spirituality, the wheel doesn't really work because that's the foundation of who we are. You know, so I really want y'all to really consider in this moment moving forward to really look at the whole wheel when it comes to mental health, emotional health, physical health, social health, all of the other stuff. Just please look at the basis of spiritual health, because that's what we're hearing a lot now. Our children have found other paths because of what their friends are into. That should not be for every household. However, it's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to spirituality. However, I believe just like for a potluck, whatever everyone brings to the table, I believe it can be effective, not just an effective school district, but it can be an effective community when we come together as a whole. I am Latoya Miller Jameson, and I am complete.
Thank you so much.
One thing that I forgot to address, as we all know here in Charleston, gun violence has gone up 100%. That's something that needs to be targeted because it's impacting our students. Trauma, they are being traumatized. Plenty of students are in CCSD at the moment without a mother or a father or uncle, aunt, due to gun violence. So programs, funding need to be put towards violence, traumas in our neighborhoods, and how we could bring conflict resolutions into the school, which revolves around bullying also, because bullying in school turns to gun violence in the community. And that's something that needs to be funded ASAP, or we will not have any students in CCSD.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, or even good evening. My name is Pamela Brown. I'm in the community 10 years now from Rhode Island, and I've been active as a community outreach worker, working in the spiritual sense of things, which is a very important point that the sister made. And I'm also active as a teacher assistant for Charleston County School District with Sanders Clyde Elementary. I was disappointed when pandemic shut down the computer lab. I was active as a computer lab teacher, hands-on, and my own experience, and I learned a lot. I grew, and I became very interactive with the students. And even so much that when I'm seen in the community, there's communication and there is fellowship in the sense of meeting their need, knowing their understanding, seeing their growth, seeing their activities, and also watching their home life. I just gonna make this short. I came up with some ideas. I have a package that I've been working on since I've been here for youth. And as an active worker with Evangelist Pat Walker, who is YAM, Youth Anointed Mass Ministries, they were very active in the community, and it kind of fizzled. But I don't think the fizzle and the light is dead, because there's so much work to be done. And in that, I'm thinking community center. But going back into the school district, into the classrooms, the computer lab is in need of quality materials to work on. Learning to teach the children how to know the technology slate is huge. Before the pandemic, they were hands-on, and when pandemic came, it was good they were hands-on, because then they would have been illiterate and they didn't know. So these important factors need to be built up, and that's one of the targets that I'm after, and that is for Sanders Clyde Computer Lab to get a facelift. In this proposal that I have here, I have a written statement that I typed out in regards to the community center. It's stated with a permission. Then there's a host of grants with allocation money that will be needed. You have dollars and cents of different faucets of information. Somebody mentioned the mental side of it. The mental trait of our students, they need enhancement. They need an uplift. They need more instructional and curriculum time personally in a way of tutor. And if that's granted, it will be good. I know they have after-school programs, and I know they have summer school programs, but we're talking about during the school year, these centers that could be adopted and raised up. They're raising up houses, they're raising up buildings, they're doing so much raising up of land and access for people to live good lives, and that's excellent. Over the years I watched and I seen it. Coming from Rhode Island, they did the same thing. And there was growth for those who were hands-on and wanted to put their time in education-wise, per skill, per need and interest. Because some might not want to work with disability. Some might not want to work with the extra, the students that are plus more so. So I'm just going to fill this out. Like I said, the allocation monies, you got more than 5 million. You got more than 5,000. You got different slates of why mental health needs, why technology needs a certain amount of dollars. Now, it's huge money that has been offered to this land and to this people. And these people have come from a distance of shortcomings. And so in the shortcomings, you gotta allow us to grow, allow us to learn, allow us to come together and make community a fact of growth, because it's growing like a leaf, like a Green Bay tree. So with that said, I'm happy that my 10 years here has been good. On the close of everything, 3 car accidents, sickness, I went downhill. But I fought with herbs and just being in community, Lyft driver, taking people here in different attitudes and different positions. We're not looking at just the bad, corrupt side. There is some positive in this thing. And I see it. So I'm going to leave that after I fill it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are coming up on our closing time. We have time for 1 or 2 at the most more comments. Dr. French, I saw you come up, and Ms. Brown, you can comment after.
So I really did just come here to listen as a school board member, but I want to try to distill what I've heard and make sure I'm hearing you where you are. I think that when we look at these 6 priority areas, and it does seem like it's hard, these are broad, how do we get more specific? And when you go back and think about this, remember this money that we're getting is, it sounds like a lot, it's $163 million, but it's over 3 years. That really only represents about 8% of our operating budget over that same period of time. And when it's done, we're not assured it's going to continue. So what we need to think about is how do we use these funds to start something that we can see if it's working really well, so that we will invest in it more. So, and find ways to invest in it, because the revenue doesn't necessarily continue. But the common thread I'm hearing is that the kind of supports that are needed are for the school, for the students, for the staff, for the parents, and a lot of that centers around mental health, and especially with our students, we know that there are kids who are dealing with different levels of trauma and in their lives. And so we definitely, that feels like a really important area for us to invest in. And there's different ways to do it, some of which, like a few of our schools have been piloting restorative practices. And that is a different kind of philosophy of communicating with each other, adults and between children and adults and children to children, so that you get better community building. You build relationships with each other, and so conflict is lessened, and discipline issues are lessened, and children learn better. That's a really amazing tool that I think if we expand that across the district, it's going to help a lot. And the other thing about that is, where do we need to start first? This money is also supposed to be targeted, and there's definitely percentage markers on this, to underserved students. So we need to think about where it needs to be too. This is not money that has to be applied equally across the district. It needs to be applied equitably where it's needed most, in my opinion. So, and some of these needs are more prevalent in some of our schools. So I think that we need to think about that. I think a lot of these go together. There's just a lot that's intertwined about it. And so, and I really appreciate the creativity and the energy that everyone is bringing about what they're already doing. And I think that we need more of this. We need more interaction with community members to get more ideas about what we can be doing in a better way, and finding other ways to leverage grants and that sort of thing to help our district. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Dr. French. Ms. Brown, to close us.
I wasn't going to speak, but I was here yesterday, or I was at the meeting at EB Ellington yesterday. I'm seeing it's a very different meeting, but there's definitely a lot of overlap with what I'm hearing in communication. People are really wanting to reach out and talk, and there's not a lot of transparency. There's not a lot of, you talk about services that are available. People don't necessarily know about it. Communication is the umbrella that we really need to focus on, and that's going to help with those areas, especially with the learning losses, mental health services, all of that. I think the first time I met you, Maggie, was actually at a PTA meeting for, and you were doing the family and community engagement
Yes, that's
service,
correct.
right?
Yes.
I don't know what happened to that. I think that we actually really need something like that is very proactive, coming out, talking to everybody like you are tonight, and getting these ideas, because I've heard so many great ideas that just need to be implemented in general. There are obviously very specific things that need to be talked about with the ESSER funds. It's free to reach out for the district, to reach out to your PTAs and SICs and really open all those lines of communication so that you all can be heard. You have very great ideas that need to be implemented and used. And I want to thank you all for being here and speaking and talking about what you want the district to do for you and your children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone for sharing tonight. It was wonderful to hear from you all. We greatly appreciate your thoughts, time, and ideas and energy. And please do fill out that form. If you didn't get the chance to speak tonight, particularly, we would love to have your ideas and your thoughts and feedback on paper, at least, to take with us, or if not that, the online survey. But again, thank you for everything, and have a great evening and drive safe.